Welcome to Chainlink Live. My name is Andy Boyan from Chainlink Labs. I'm here with Gareth Bowles from PERI Finance, and we're going to be talking about PERI's synthetic products, about their plans for DeFi on the Polkadot ecosystem, and of course, how they're using Chainlink. Gareth, welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here and chat with you a little bit on this fine morning and your afternoon. Let's get into it. What is PERI? What is your, what are your product offerings, and kind of what differentiates PERI Finance?
Sure. Thank you, Andy. So PERI is a cross-chain synthetic asset issuance and derivatives decentralized exchange. Cross-chain basically means the DApp will run on multi-chain networks such as Ethereum and Polkadot. And to break that down, synthetic asset, what does that actually mean? It's a tokenized asset that has the same value as the original asset. So, for example, if you want to, as an investor, as an individual, want to get access to gold as an asset class, you want to buy Tesla shares or Apple or trade the German DAX, you can do that through a synthetic asset that we will be able to provide to people. And that's essentially the nuts and bolts of it.
So just as a quick clarification, is USDT a synthetic? Like, is Tether a synthetic? Would you classify it as such?
Sure.
Yeah, it's a version, right? It's pegged. So stablecoins are essentially synthetics in their own way.
Yeah. I mean, you when you buy USDT, you don't own the underlying dollar. You own a contract that says somewhere there's a dollar that sits in a bank account that's tied to this contract. But I mean, that's been a bone of contention. Is that actually the case? But yeah, that's essentially what it is. It's a synthetic product, which mimics the exact price of the underlying asset. And that's what we're talking about here.
I think usually we talk about gold, like the price of gold, because you can't actually trade physical gold on a blockchain. You can go to a vendor and buy actual gold and trade that and do that swap somewhere, right, in your town. But on the blockchain, you've got to have it synthetic, and so it just kind of makes sense narratively in your head. But really, stablecoins are synthetics, wrapped versions of coins, right? If you are on Polygon, you've got wrapped ETH. That's essentially a synthetic too, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, cool. So they're synthetics, and PERI is a synthetics platform. And you're on Ethereum, you're on Polkadot. What's the story? Where's PERI at, and what's happening there?
So we're on Ethereum at the moment. So it's built on Ethereum, but we plan to move to Polkadot, possibly not exclusively, but for the potential benefits that might give us, such as speed, number of transactions that can be simultaneously processed, avoiding things like high gas fees. So there's a number of potential benefits to using that Polkadot network, which we're more than exploring. We're planning to launch there Q4 this year.
Are you doing other layer 2s in the meantime?
Sure. Yeah. So we're looking at layer 2 as a solution to some of those issues on Ethereum, and that's something that we'll work on concurrently.
Awesome. So can you tell me a little bit about how the PERI synths, those PYNTHS we talked about, how do those work?
Sure. I mean, a lot of this really did take me some time to get my head around, because having come from the financial services background, you're quite familiar with sort of abstract terminology and, trying to understand how financial products are constructed. So, this is kind of the same, but obviously in this DeFi market, which is exploding, it's kind of opened it up to a whole new user base. So the difficulty we have is in articulating exactly your question. How does it work? Can you explain the mechanics behind it? And I'll try and do so as simply as possible. So if you want to participate in the community, you buy PERI token. You take your PERI token, which is like the gate, like the gatekeeper into the ecosystem. You stake it. You can then mint PYNTHS, for example, PUSD, which is the synthetic US dollar. And then you could basically take your PINT, your PUSD, and you can trade it against gold, you can trade it against Bitcoin, you can trade it against whatever you want to trade, whatever as an individual you would like to have exposure to, both long or short. So if you think the market's going up or down, you'll be able to trade that PINT with leverage if you want it through the ecosystem. And
so I get the PERI token and I stake it. Does the PERI token have a stable value, or is that market fluctuations?
So yeah, that's it's quoted currently on a couple of centralized exchanges. So that has a fluctuating market value. There's a limited number of tokens that will be available, so we fully expect that to appreciate modestly over time.
So I get $100 worth of tokens, let's just say, and I stake them in the protocol. Can I pull out, or can I mint $100 worth of synthetics, or is there a collateralization ratio that I need to?
There is a collateralization ratio that you'll need to maintain. It's not 1 for 1. I think it's 8 to 1 against. Mm-hmm. So therefore, you've always got the liquidity available in the debt pool, and then depending on the value of PERI, as it rises and falls, you'll be able to mint more PINTs, and you'll want to burn PINTs as the value of PERI decreases, so that you can maintain that collateralization ratio. And then there's rewards given to you as a staker for maintaining the optimum C ratio. And then, of course,
they're like lending pools almost, right? Decentralized lending pools. They're pretty similar in construction, wherein there's depositors who provide liquidity. That liquidity can act as collateral so that they can withdraw, but they have to maintain a ratio. Otherwise, are there liquidations?
Yeah, I mean, it acts in almost a similar way to if you trade with a dedicated market maker. Mm-hmm. So if you have a huge Chicago-based high-frequency fund who is the counterparty behind your trades, they'll be earning the fees, they'll be managing the risk, they'll be owners of that debt pool, essentially. What we're doing is we're taking this away from centralized counterparties like that, and everyone that participates in the ecosystem is part of that pool, and they're also earning the rewards for being part of it as well. So you're democratizing the earnings rather than keeping it very concentrated at the top.
Well, this is the key value proposition of DeFi itself: is it democratizes who can be a market maker, who deserves to be in those pools. Well, the current financial system, it just doesn't make sense to let everybody pitch in $10 or however much it is, or be a part of that. But with smart contracts, we can do that, right? It retains ownership. You have that sovereignty to do what you want with your funds, and so you can pool those funds together in a decentralized way securely. So that's really cool. Good to kind of get our head around that. And of course, more information if you want to get in deep into the technicals in the PERI documentation. Hey, everybody, I just want to give a shout out to the audience here watching. My name's Andy. We're on Chainlink Live talking to PERI Finance's Gareth Bowles. We've talked a little bit about what PERI does. How is it different between traditional finance and synthetic assets? Like, what are some of the those differences between the ways that hey, Paul, how you doing? I see your questions too. If you guys have questions, drop them in the chat. Sorry guys. What are some of the differences between traditional finance, synthetics, and the way this works, other than the liquidity poolers?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of differences, right? So it's an important distinction to make is when you're buying or selling a synthetic product, so you're getting exposure to synthetic gold, you're not buying physical gold, or you're not buying the physical share. You're buying a smart contract which mimics that price. So that's an important distinction to make, because when you buy a physical share, you have to open a brokerage account, you have to send them some money. So that's another important distinction. You retain custody of your asset in your own wallet. You're not having to send dollars or pounds to a third party, from which they're going to take a healthy slice. There's going to be tax implications. It's all going to take a significant amount of time more than it will be to mint a PYNTHS and buy the synthetic, as opposed to doing it the traditional way.
There's some really interesting speed implications for enterprises and institutions, because it takes them a long time to move. But like, if you got a $10 billion fund and you allocate a small amount, right? $1 million, $10 million to DeFi, you could move real fast. You could move like within minutes on some stuff that might take a lot longer, just because of the ownership of those assets and everything. So there's some really interesting opportunities there in the future as well that I'm interested to see develop. How are you guys using Chainlink?
So we're going to use them for the price discovery, so real-time pricing of the synthetic assets that will be available. The synthetic assets that will be available, by the way, will be in the most liquid markets, because how could you define a price for something that's totally illiquid and maybe comes out twice a year? So the focus will be on things like commodities and indices and foreign exchange, where it's easy to get a quick real-time price that's accurate as well. It has to be accurate. Uptime has to be next to 100% or as close as possible, and that is something that Chainlink will give us.
Yeah, I just saw a tweet somewhere that Chainlink added another Forex feed, so we're up to 20 something. I don't remember what it was, but I think we got a Chilean peso or something. I can't remember what it was. So Mark, maybe you remember if you saw that tweet. But there are a ton of those Forex price feeds, and people choose Chainlink. Projects choose Chainlink because of that uptime reliability. I mean, Chainlink pulls price data from multiple exchanges, multiple data providers who are pulling it from hundreds of exchanges. So it's like decentralized at all these levels, because you can't have like a temporary price feed or something that just goes down for a synthetic asset, right? You lose your peg, and somebody trading all of a sudden loses their liquidity, and then they get liquidated, and that's a big problem. So that's interesting. I've seen a couple other synthetic projects use the price feeds in those ways to make sure that those pegged assets, gold, for example, or commodities, those are starting to come out on Chainlink feeds, are maintain their real world value.
Yeah, we looked at other DeFi projects like Synthetics and PERI Finance and Kyber, who are all using Chainlink, and that also gives us another level of confidence. But yeah, from what we've seen, it is pretty bulletproof.
The protocol's good, man. I like it. I'm a fan. Obviously, I hope. And as are people here. Hey, everybody. If you've got your questions for Gareth and PERI, go ahead and drop them in the chat. You can always also join their communities. Are you guys more Telegram or Discord oriented?
Telegram. So that's, I think you're going to put the link to the bottom. So yeah.
I always ask.
Gauge.
It's interesting to see where communities live. Some are just like live on Discord, some on Telegram, and you never can tell. Okay, Mark found the tweet right here. I don't know if I can get to it just the way I have it. All right, how do I do this? I can't do it on mine. So anyways, there's a link if you want to go see it about the Forex things. I can't, just because of the setup I have, I can't click it. I was talking about synthetics. What is something about synthetics in crypto that people just is a misunderstanding? You come from some traditional finance and into this world of tech people and degens who are just excited to get involved in DeFi. What are some of those basic misunderstandings, things that you wish people knew?
Yeah, I mean, it's, as we've mentioned before, we are, really kind of working on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of this whole space. So it's a learning experience for everybody. And I'm sure that a lot of things that we conceive now will be completely different in 6 months' time or a year's time. But yeah, I think that important distinction is that, you don't own the underlying asset that you're buying access to. And you obviously have the ability to use leverage as well, which is kind of a double-edged sword. I've seen leverage be the undoing of many an investor, both private and institutional. So, you know, we're offering conservatively up to 20 times, but, you know, compared to other financial products available out there, that is pretty conservative, but more than enough, in my opinion. And for anyone sort of starting out in this space, you know, the best place to start is by doing it. You know, you could, because we had this discussion earlier today, you know, you can read white papers, you can look at process diagrams, but unless you actually engage in the community and get involved and just do it, then it becomes inculcated, then it starts to make a lot more sense. And then, you know, it just kind of clicks into place, a bit like driving a car.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's a bummer because it's not easy to scale user adoption if every single person needs to like just get in and have their hand held, but that's a really effective way to learn. So if you're in now, you can go to PERI and you can use the wallet and like practice these things. And now there's documentation out there about how to connect those things. So doing some of that research yourself is a pretty important component of that. So please do that and get involved. That's how I got started in this, is like, I just got excited and was like, all right, what's this Uniswap thing? How does it work? Okay, what's MetaMask? How does it work? And I figured it out, and then the rest is history. Here I am. But yeah,
well, I think, you know, in the early days of Bitcoin, they paid people to learn how to mine, you know, and that's how they got the engagement of that community. You know, we're doing things like, if you buy PERI token, there's an inflation reward attached to it. So the early users will be really rewarded in terms of the fees generated that get paid back to the PERI holders. So,
well, that's all of yield farming, right? If you stake, if you provide liquidity, you get incentives, and there's those models to help kickstart that flywheel. So, absolutely agree. That's how to get started. There's risk, of course, involved, because you never know. You know, on what the value of a token is going to be, and what the rate and APY is going to be, et cetera, et cetera. We do have a question. Here we go. Curious about the name for PERI. Where does that come from? How did you choose that?
I'll be honest with you, I've got no idea. That was that was
Before your time?
colleagues of mine that came up with it. That I kind of said, yeah, okay. It doesn't mean anything bad in English, so we'll go with that.
All right, I like it. It's quirky. Well, go dig in. Now you've got like some trivia. Somebody's got a secret somewhere about where that comes from. Somebody's initials, maybe. Who knows? On the blockchain firm.
I think the feeling was that PYNTHS kind of rolled off the tongue in many different languages. So, yeah, you know, that you do often get the issue where words and phrases don't quite transmit into other languages as well, whereas PYNTHS, you know, kind of was felt that between Asian languages and English and others, it kind of works reasonably well.
Nice. And Polkadot synthetic PYNTHS. I like that. That works for branding. Polygon synthetic PYNTHS. Okay, I'm digging it now. I'm on. Gareth, it's been great getting to know you, getting to know the PERI protocol a little bit. What's on the roadmap for you guys? What's coming up in the next few months?
Yeah, I mean, it's you actually joined us at a pretty interesting time, because literally today we've launched the DApp, which is the ability to stake using MetaMask with your own wallet. And that's literally gone live today. So all the guys are really busy kind of helping the community understand that, writing tutorials about how to do it. There's a web page up now which will explain this as well. So that was a big piece of the roadmap that we had over the next month, and that's gone live today.
Awesome. We'll make sure I'll get a link to that in the description down below. If you're learning about PERI for the first or third or 10th time, all of the links will be down below in the description to their website, to their documentation, and to their communities. Join the PERI Telegram and be part of this. What a great day to come on and drop me a little alpha that this is the day a new product or a new feature launches. Got to lead with that next time, right? You come in and you lead hard with that. Hey, everybody. Gareth, I appreciate you being here, man. We're going to sign off here in a little bit, but stay in touch with me. Let's do this again as you guys ramp up and move to different chains. Cool?
Sure.
Awesome, man. Thank you to the community for being here. I see one last minute question came in. Go to the Telegram, go to the PERI Telegram. This is where to ask those questions because we are wrapping up here. And while you're joining Telegram groups, join the Chainlink official Telegram and Discord as well. Be a part of our community as we, help projects like PERI adopt price feeds, VRF, and all sorts of other Chainlink products that help secure the entire DeFi ecosystem. And as we work to change things in the financial world. Again, my name is Andy Boyan. This has been Chainlink Live. I need you to like and subscribe this video. And I'm doing another one of these later today at 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm talking to a pretty interesting project, Sportimon Go. It's a wild founder. They got some crazy promotion stuff they're doing. So join me. And then join me next week. We'll have a lot of these throughout the week. We've also got a number of international Q&As, so make sure to check those out on our Chainlink community channel. And thanks for being part of our Chainlink community. Hey, Gareth, we'll talk to you next time we talk to you. Cool?
Thank you. Pleasure.
All right. Thanks, everyone.